I wish you wouldn't drug me in the middle of this. Because I have tried very hard to not get in the middle of this and to not take sides in this. I came to this court in June and prior to June of 2012, when you all were preparing the 2012-2013 budget. I made a presentation to this court. Back it up. 2010, we had a census. And in 2010, that census put Bullitt County as 74,319 people. We exceeded 70,000 people, you all. Put us in a different management form for the fee offices. There's only two. There's my office and there's his office. The clerk and the sheriff in every county in the state are fee offices. It changed the way we financially account for our money. It changed the way we pay our bills, didn't it, Myrtle? Yes. It has not been easy. I don't have the expenses that you have. I don't have the expense structure that you have. That's part of the reason I've been quiet. I don't understand everything that your office has to deal with. But I do know how to be a county clerk. Pretty good. And they are apples and oranges, but when you get down to the financial bookwork of them, they're pretty much the same. You have so much money, and you should not exceed it. And everything was fine until we got to 2010 and we took a census, weren't we, Myrtle?
Yeah.
You were taking care of bills, you were paying it, you were getting clean audits. Am I off? I'm right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. There was only one county that went over 70,000 people in that 2010 census, and that was Bullitt County. And the training was short, and the training was brief. And the answers that were coming did vary depending on which person up in the county fees branch was answering the phone. And it was a mess. I was receiving checks that were meant for his office. He was receiving checks that were meant for mine, weren't we?
Yes.
We were making trips to Frankfurt and the Cracker Barrel out of Blankenbaker and 64 to pick up checks in order to pay our bills. How far out did they extend our health insurance with Humana? They put us out on a 65 or 75 days of billing cycle because the state would not pay the bills. I did not plan to get up here and rehash all this, but it needs to be said so everybody's on the same plate and the same table. It was a fiasco. And it was a hard fiasco. And they told us in the training that I sat in on the clerk's only. Nobody from the sheriff's office was there. This was the clerk. Just my office and the director, J.W. Bryan, and some of his people out of county fees. And ultimately, as we got into 2011, and we were approaching and the calendar rolled over into 2012, Ann and I in my office kept looking at it as a math problem, simply a math problem. Personnel issue had nothing to do with it, gentlemen. It was a math problem. We've been able to pay our bills on time, and we've been taking care of things, and my cash flow never changed. My cash flow did not change. And it's like, we've got to be able to still pay our bills. I've got the same cash flow. My expense structure did not change. So this ought to be able to work. But how do we make it work? And ultimately, we went to our vendor, who we were using a company called Software Management, and they had two different versions of the software for us. One was for counties that were under 70,000 in population, and one for counties that were over 70,000 in population. And ultimately, Ann and I came to the decision, we're going to run 2011's business through the first 11 months of the year, through the cycle, and have software process it, and figure out where would I be coming up on the end of 2011. Would I be in the black in my 75% account? And really, that's what it all matters, isn't it? It's the 75% account against the 25% account. Right, Myrtle? It took 85% of my funds in 2011, and you all were going to get 15 in my excess fees. So I come to you all, In June, approaching June, some of you weren't here, Joe, you were, Judge, you were. And I approached the court and had individual conversations with every one of you because this was a very difficult thing to explain. So I explained it to all the court members. I come in here, I present it, and it comes down to a 3-2 vote, approving me for a line item to be put inside the county's budget in order to bill back to the fiscal court a portion of my 25% money. Tom, you getting all this? A portion of my 25% money so that I can keep my 75% account in the black. Now, I don't know anything about the sheriff's office, but I know that's what it took in the county clerk's office. We got into the year 2012. My budget starts, I'm on calendar. You all are on fiscal. I started office on January 1, 2012, under county fees branch. You all don't catch up with me until July 1 of 2012. I got 2 quarters of money that was going through county fees branch that ultimately deposited and went to your all's good. Correct, Canan? It was really slow getting to you, but ultimately we had 2 quarters worth of money that came through. The court approved a line item, which was basically my health insurance number, you all. Because I pay all my health insurance, I pay my own retirement for all of my people in my office based off of the fees. When you all come in and do a renewal on a license plate, when you transfer a car, when you buy a piece of property, when you pay a delinquent tax bill, those are my cash fees. Those are my fee lines. Those were just like selling starters and alternators at the auto parts store. I got a percentage off of each sale. That's how I get payroll. That's how I still pay my bills. Okay? I realize, and Ann and I come to the conclusion that because it took 85% of my fees in 2011 to cover my operation, I'm going to go in the red in my 75% account in the first year. So we come up with the idea, and county fees and Department of Local Government tells us that it is a valid thing to do, and that there are counties around the state that put fee offices in the county budget in order to help support them. Right? Okay? The court did not fully understand why I was coming and asking this, did you, Judge? You voted against me.
It's a very complicated issue.
Yes. Ultimately, that $200,000 that we had the ability to bill back against in order to reach into the 75% account, which I had full access to in 2011 and before, to keep my office in the black and have excess fees to give to the court, I had lost access to that 25% of my money. So by putting it in the county's budget and the county allowing me to bill back against that, ultimately we bill our health insurance on a monthly basis to the court. That then, I don't know, help me, Canan, monthly or quarterly, that the money flows back and forth between you all and my office. Monthly or quarterly, that money is moving back and forth between the billings that we give to you all and it ultimately coming back. That first 6 months of 2012, there was approximately $100,000 that flowed out of there was $100,000 that's in the 25% account that flowed to the department, up to county fees branch, and came back to them. When the county approved this budget change to put $200,000 in their budget, your eyes are glazing over, I'm losing you. Ultimately, I lost $100,000 that I did not bill back for in 2012 through the first 2 quarters. We realized it late in the 3rd quarter that we were going to be short on money in the 75% account. And there was no way I was coming back to this court and asking for more money. I had a lady retire who had sat right down there in that chair and did what Lauren does today. And I did not rehire that position. And I had another lady who took FMLA and did not come back. And I did not rehire that position off of automobile side. So that gave me, at the end of 2012, when my audit occurred, I was $78,000 in the hole. I was in the red in my 75% account. Because I failed to, it never occurred to me to build back in the year, the first 2 quarters of 2012. My mind was completely on the end of 14 and how do I come out of this with a clean audit and 75% account sitting in the black. And ultimately, I was in the red in the first year. I presented the auditors what my plan was to come out from under it. They had an exit conference with the judge and the deputy judge, and everybody understood it, everybody knew it. The next year, I was $4,000 in the red in my 75% account. We had cut it by $74,000 by not rehiring those 2 positions. As I exited 2014 and my exit conference came through, I gave you all $68,000 in excess fees. And then there was some trickle-through money after the audit occurred. That's a long version of what I cannot make a short story, people. It's difficult, it's hard, it's a mess, it's gotten better. It's my understanding that sheriffs have a much harder time with this than clerks do because they have a very irregular cash flow and they got more expense. Now, I don't know what that does to answer the question, but you brought me into the middle of the equation. And as you say, sometimes when you get going, it's hard to get stopped. But folks, that's what happened to the clerk's office. Now, I can't tell you why the sheriff's office has got the issue the sheriff's office has. That's your files, answer and responsibility. And ultimately, I'm just going to try to be a clerk and try to keep the 75% account in the black. And thus far, I think it's worked pretty good in my eyes. What you 6 are able to work out through here, that's up to you all. And I just love to see you be able to talk, work it through, and I believe that's possible. But I hope you can do it, and I hope you will do it, and I hope that you all can forget about this deadline of the 15th, not to erase it, but to just take care of business tomorrow. Take care of business day after tomorrow, and then put this thing to rest and go forward. Did you need anything else out of me?
Kevin, I just want to be very clear, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus, but what I did need to show the people in here is that whether you're a field office or whether you're a department, unfortunately, we have to rely on the court sometimes to bail us out. Even when we've done everything right, we've done everything humanly possible to do what's right for this county, sometimes this court has to bail us out, especially in our situation, because the example that I'm trying to get across to everybody is, not that you've done anything wrong, because you certainly ain't. I'm proud of what you've done.
You can put your Facebook posts in the future. When you make reference to the fee offices and the other departments, you're directly making a point at me, Dave, and I do not appreciate it.
Okay, that's fine. But again, in response to what I was saying, and to Mr. Radio's comments, it can be fixed tonight, because there's nobody in here, that there don't need to be an agreement between us. There doesn't need to be an agreement between us for you guys to pay the deficit and to keep things business as usual. There will never be another deficit. This is a one-time thing that happened by maybe a mistake that we made and mistakes that y'all made and the lack of knowledge that we all had in the beginning. And, you know, and I'm going to have to throw some other things out here. If we can pay, I'm going to go to the jail this time, and, you know, in the same time period that's in question about this deficit, this court has bailed the jail out way over $1 million. And granted, they are a department, not a fee office. But my point is, you had to make some choices in the past, and you always choose, whether it's the road department or whoever, you do your best to make to accommodate. And it can be fixed tonight. You don't need Dave Greenwell's signature. We don't need my attorneys or your attorneys to decide this. And the bottom line was, what I was, the reason I wasn't even gonna come tonight, because I already knew the answer before I got here. I came in support of my men and women who work there, just to be here for them. And, again, you don't need me to do this. It's the right thing to do. You can pay that deficit. You don't need an agreement from me. You don't need me. I'm not gonna sign anything anyway, because, my stance is gonna be, I don't know it anyway. I don't know that debt. And I know in my heart, when the monies that was spent, our audits are great, we work within our budgets. There's been no money, nobody can show me where we spent money or bought frivolous things or anything, because each one of these guys, they haven't had a raise. They make less money than Shepherdsville, Mount Washington. They have worse uniforms. Until this year, I wasn't even able to buy these guys boots and coats and stuff. They were running around in rags. It just doesn't make any sense why this has to drag out, when this court in the past, and even present, has put out so much money. And don't get me wrong, you should never go over your budget if possible, but all a budget is an educated guess on what it's gonna cost to operate based on, prior years. And we're good on our budgets, but, you don't have to side with me. I don't have to side with you. None of us have to like each other or get along. In order for things to work out, this deficit has to be paid, and I'm willing to risk all that I have. It breaks my heart that these men and women here are gonna get laid off, because I'm gonna have to cut it to the bare bones, just like Kevin had to do. He had to cut it. He didn't replace people, we have to replace people. We've done everything we can do to make this work. And again, Kevin, I apologize. I'm sorry if I threw you under the bus. It wasn't to do that. It was to, not to use an example, necessarily not you, but to show the people and the magistrates here that what makes me different? What makes my office different? Why can't we pay this? Go ahead and make your agreement with the state, or don't. But if you do, everything's business as usual. We're not gonna be on all these channels looking like idiots out here in Bullitt County again. We're gonna get some good report. We've all worked together. We fixed the problem. It don't even matter who broke it anymore. What matters is that we move forward, we take care of these problems, we take care of this deficit. I'll quit blaming y'all quit blaming me, but ultimately it has to be paid. But I will always take the stance that I'm not personally responsible or liable until the judge somewhere tells me that I am. And then I guess I go back to living in my car or whatever I did years ago when I originally started out. But you can fix it tonight. We don't have to sign any kind of agreement. In the big scope of things, $638,000, close to that, is a lot of money, but when it comes down to everything that's at stake and everything that's at risk, our reputations as leaders, it's not a big amount of money to go ahead and fix this. Let's just fix it tonight. Just agree. And I'm gonna do everything in my power. The law says I have to return all excess fees. I'm gonna do everything in my power to return as much money back to this county as I possibly can in excess fees. I don't need to sign an agreement saying I'm gonna do it. The law requires me to do it. That's the one thing holding us up right now. I think that's the only difference. Let's just fix this. Let's move forward. You don't need me. We don't need to agree to nothing. Only thing we need to do is agree. You've got a payment plan. Make the payments. Let me pay all I can do. Let me help you all I can help you. But don't think that I'm going to be held personally responsible and lose everything that I have, everything that I am, and everything I've worked for now, and even in my retirement, over something that we had no control of to begin with. There's a lot of responsible parties that created this debt. So, I guess I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but we can fix it. If anybody in here is willing to tonight, you can fix it. We're gonna avoid all the crazy media that's gonna be swarming around tomorrow and days to come, and all the hardships that's gonna come because of our inaction. They're on the way, folks. Bad things are coming. A lot of good things has happened, but a lot of bad's on the way, if y'all don't mind. And something you gotta realize, once I have to go draw out money on equity on my home to hire an attorney, at that point, there is no turning back. And I have to do that soon, to protect, not only to protect me, but to protect all these guys in this room and everybody sitting in this room. I have to do that. But once I do that, there is no turning back. The 15th will be what it is. Nothing will change. No offer that comes to me will even be considered, because I couldn't consider it at that point. I'll have to sue to get my $25,000 down that I have to pay this guy to represent me in some sort of situation. Guys, do it tonight. Let's be done with it. Take care of it. I'm committing to work together with each and every one of you. I will give you every dime. If I have to go and move in my office 24/7 and take every call I have to take personally, I'll do whatever it takes. I don't have a problem with it, but let's end it tonight. And it's up to y'all whether you do or not, but it's nasty now, and it's gonna get a lot worse if we don't do something, and it's a crying shame if it does, because it can be fixed if y'all don't choose to do it.
Chairman, like B has something. Please say. Okay, all right.
So what else do you all want? Seriously?
Well, I did.
Okay, so what is the guarantee if they pay off this deficit now, that it won't happen again in 2 years?
Well, here is the guarantee. The reason the deficit is there is for various reasons. A lot I'm gonna remember and a lot I'm not. It was not due to overspending, it was not due to overstaffing, it was not due to buying play toys. It was a result of this 75-25% split. They were, the former court, and part of this court, let me back up here for a minute. The guarantee is, when everybody thought I was holding a gun to these people's head, and I got them to agree to pay $300,000 last year, with the agreement paying $250,000 more this year, what that does, the money that I lost, because of that 25%, plus several other things that they have no longer paying for us, it added up to it. That's what created the deficit. Well, the difference is, now I'm back where I used to be. Because of that $550,000 more that they're paying for law enforcement, I'm not up here. I still don't have money to give these guys nice raises or do anything for them hardly. But I've got enough to where I'll never be in the red again for the rest of my term. So, I mean, it is a guarantee. You think I want to go out of this office when I do retire, being known as the sheriff that just, failed? No, I don't. And I won't.
And I'm not picking on you, but
I know you're
I have
not.
one more question.
I know you're not.
Who is it that contacts the media?
Who is it that contacts the media? Well, it's everybody in the world that knows what's going on.
I think you did.
Pardon me?
Didn't you contact the media? You were interviewed by the media and you agreed to talk to the media.
We did.
And you said the police officers didn't have bulletproof vests. But when I asked that in fiscal court, sir, I was told you did. Now that's what was on TV.
I can clear that up right now, and I do remember that.
Yeah.
That rumor going around. 90% of these guys had old outdated vests. A lot of them had vests that were just given to them or donated. There was only a small handful that did have products that fit for them. I went out and basically on social media asking for help, to help us. Now, the reason,
Did you buy new ones with that money?
well, here, we haven't done anything yet, here's why. We have ordered them, and we're in the process of it, but we didn't have enough to buy everybody one. with
But
the
you
donation.
rented, but you leased 12 new police cars though, instead.
Right, but not with that money, not with that money. And the reason we didn't is because the new grant that we can get and will get to pay for, it pays 50% for these vests, didn't become available for January 1. So in order for us to get the most bang for our buck, in order for me to be able to buy everybody that works for us a good vest that are comfortable, that they can wear and will wear, I had to wait on that grant because I don't have enough money in the sheriff's office to pay for that. Thanks to a lot of citizens that stepped up and did donate. We still have that sitting in account, and we already have had appointments for the people that's gonna provide the vest to come out, measure us, and do everything they need to do. That's been established. But it doesn't make any sense to me to spend that money ahead of time, get less vests. But now whoever informs you that they already had vests was somebody from the other side of the
Well,
fence just trying to stir
it was,
something up.
there was a respectable person, but, and also, sir, why would you lease 12 new police cars and immediately say you're gonna pull patrol? Now, that's questionable. I don't know why you
Well,
would
it
lease.
wasn't immediately, ma'am. And the reason I leased 12 new police cars is because I saved approximately $350,000 by leasing these vehicles. At the end of the my 4-year term, I paid $12 for those 12 vehicles. And it was a way, when originally, and it goes back to the deficit. This is clearly goes back to the deficit. When we first found out that there was going to be a deficit, we cut expenses beyond belief. We cut things that shouldn't have been cut in our office. That's when all these guys started suffering the worst because they didn't have the proper backup at night time, because I couldn't afford to hire people in all these positions that left. So, you know, we've had to make a lot of cuts because of this deficit. And the original deficit, when this thing first started happening a couple of years ago, was a direct result. What happened was we tried to make that money up, and it was originally $500,000. And that year, we cut so much from our budget, we didn't buy police cars at all. And we made up almost all that original deficit where we went 75% over. The new deficit is from something totally different. And I might add too, you know, my office has tried to operate and be self-sufficient and never come to this court and ask them for anything. Not this court or any of the members that were here prior to the newer people here. It's been tradition that the court, I mean, we can have a former sheriff in here that'll tell you, and any sheriff you want to ask, the fiscal court has always tried to help purchase cars for the sheriff's office. Well, I was trying to do it on my own. I was trying to carry that load on my own. And we let our cars get down to the point, because we had to make up that 75%, you know, where we come up short.
But can you see how the public might question?
I wanted to question.
Well, they
they
wondered why you were pulled, when you leased 12 new police cars, but you are going to take patrolling off the street, the public would question
got the cars.
the reasonability
We
about
got the
that.
cars in March,
They were
May of
bought
last
6
year.
months before the patrol
I'm
issue.
saying Joe public, just
Okay.
people that don't know
We
your
got the cars
situation.
last year in May.
And another thing is, we now have a financial advisor. And he can now stop this from happening again. I'm hoping that's his position, isn't it?
He's done an excellent job helping us.
Okay, so, you know, but that started before we had a financial advisor. I'm assuming, right?
Mr. Griffey has no way to stop a situation like this. You know, I mean, what stops it is these court members and me working together, taking care of the problem at hand and moving forward and not letting it happen again. We're the ones that prevent it from happening. Frankfurt, when they participate, and they've got legitimate people working on those offices that give us straight answers, that truly tell us where we actually are, and cut us off when they need us, that's what fix it. It's
So-
never gonna happen again as long as.
I thought he was hired to advise you on your plans. That's not his job?
Not the sheriff.
No, ma'am.
Not the sheriff, everybody else. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I got you.
And Sandy, our finance officer has nothing to do
Do
with
it,
sheriff's
the
budget.
sheriff, I got you. I realize that now that you say that.
Okay. Sandy, did you finish?
Yes, I stand corrected. Yeah,
It's complicated.
it is.
Yes, Brenda, feel free.
Okay, they were talking about the budget, and I know there's a difference between the fiscal year and the calendar year, and I think you operate on two different budgets. How is the sheriff's department paid? There's like a 6-month lapse there or something, or overlapping? Do they get 6 months at a time? Do they get a year of their money at a time? How do they get their money?
In the past, it was done monthly, when they were getting 300,000. Last year, when we bumped it up to 6, and I worked with Burl and the sheriff, and they needed to get, one of the areas that was a concern was because of the difference in the budget cycles, that they were only getting half of what they needed. So this year, we actually got them 600 in their calendar year. Now, that was 450 out of our budget. So there's 150 left over going for the next 6 months, because we're on a fiscal year. So that was something that happened in the past. We changed that when we bumped it, my first year in here, we bumped it up to 600, to make sure that they got the full amount in their calendar year instead of spreading.
Then part two of this question is, the budget that he submitted that fiscal court approved him, what are his obligations under the budget that you all are giving him the money to do? I mean, does it go beyond what Mr. Woolridge said a while ago that his obligations were, or
We approved his budget to police.
to police? So is he not obligated to do that through the fiscal year that he's received the money for?
I guess, Dave can decide on what he wants to do, but we approved his budget for policing. He submitted 2 budgets, one for policing and one for non. We approved the budget for the 16, starting in July 1, for this policing. Added $250,000 to that. We approved that. And then Dave decided, after we approved it, he said the 2-part approval that we would pay his deficit out. The state has difference. The state says it's the sheriff's department's responsibility.
Depending on who you talk to.
Right, absolutely. That's what the paper we got from, what was his name?
Secretary Randall.
Secretary of Finance said it was his responsibility. And I understand, I don't get into, this 25 and all that. You do numbers, you do paperwork. We approved his budget $250,000 more. And now we're looking to try to find $638,000 more. And that's all it is money. Again, I'll go back to, we're trying to find, because that's $14,000 a month that we've got to pull out of somebody else's budget.
Did you have a $1 million carryover last year? Did you have a $1 million carryover last
I
year?
don't know.
Mr. Griffin,
$1
you been better than $1 million?
I'm not, our budget carryover.
This is
I'll have
probably
to-
1.8
you did
million.
check that, sir. Big before.
Your Honor.
There's a,
That's not the surplus.
that's not a surplus.
Okay, well, let's finish that one. Go ahead.
No, the carryover is just the carryover.
From when they're taking that.
For the next year.
Yeah, that's not pledgeable money. It's not money.
Charlotte, does that answer your question?
No,
No,
not really.
it didn't?
I'll come to the state office.
Okay. All right, and,
You're all here, Lee, people's emotions are high, things and that, but the lady, the man who made an offer, that he will engage in any tangible way to make sure that we can move forward on this tonight, without benefit of counsel. And even though you took that over the table, my understanding is the only reason you tabled it because you did not want to deny him his opportunity to seek counsel or be advised by him. If he no longer chooses to be represented by council tonight, or he waives the requirement, we at least take action on the budget. It seems like to me that we still could come away here tonight with some sort of agreement, some sort of way that we can move forward here and figure out who did what wrong later on, and those people can be held accountable at a later date.
What's the problem with y'all there, with y'all, with somebody?
Legal assistance. It's saying that fiscal court will pay $14,000 a month for 34 months. And at the end of Dave's term, that we pay a balloon of 162 to cover the balance. There's no in, there's no
That's
out.
what everybody agreed to, when you're supposed to have a special meeting. I mean, I don't know why.
There's something else to back up and think about though. I don't know if it was Brenda or who asked the question. No, it was way in front. And thank you for asking the question, because it's exactly my point that I want to make here. You want to know what would prevent this from happening again, what guarantee I could give. Well, see, the problem I have is when it does say, I know they didn't give us me, but it's later from some, I'm not going to do it. The final payment would be $162,860.87. So you have to look at it from my family and my point of view. What guarantee do I have that anybody in here will stick to their word? Because you have to keep in mind, this last payment's at the end of my term. When, if they choose not to make that payment, then I'll lose everything I got. If they come after me, if I can't win in court, I think I can. Oh, I have to go for it. You know, it's not something we've done on purpose or anything, and it's just mistakes that we all made. It's a combination of mistakes, the judge, all of our mistakes, put it together.
So basically then, they tabled it for the lawyers.
But we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to, because it shouldn't even be discussed before.
You just said, what guarantees you have, you're going to do your part. What guarantee are we going to have, we're going to do our part? That's why you have to have a
If
document.
everybody just trusts everybody, how do we ever know?
But you're gonna have to have something.
If you pull somebody over for drinking, and they say, I'm not gonna do this anymore, you take it. The thing is you've gotta have a document. If I'm supposed to take care of this money in this town, and just do it by word, nobody does anything by word.
Well, I'm not asking that necessarily that you do, I'm just saying that it's not needed, because the only thing this court will ever get back from me is whatever I can save, and whatever I can create, and my excess,
If you let the people know what it
is going to decide how much I have.
If you let the people know what it is, maybe I'm simplistic, maybe I'm naive, maybe I still believe too wholeheartedly in the democracy of America, that I was taught. That if you do everything you know, and you all on record agree to different things, then you know who's going to hold you accountable, who's going to make sure that those agreements kept the people. And they will rise up in their righteous indignation, and they will do whatever they need to do to ensure that both parties kept their respective agreements. Now, my mother was a noted attorney in her own right, and she taught me that whenever a contract is negotiated, when both parties walk out of the room thinking they got screwed, that was a good contract. So I'm telling you here tonight, we both know deep down that we put all these pettiness aside, and we listen to the will of the people, which is what's been here tonight, that this can be resolved right here, right now, on a handshake and on agreement of the record, and both people can start and move forward on this. And if it isn't accomplished, if he doesn't do right, we're going to hold him to the office model. If anyone on there doesn't do right, they're going to hold you responsible at the whole. And very little is going to be done to stop that. Because the other thing is, once you tell somebody something, and you tell it long enough, whether it's truth or not, people will believe it. All it takes is one side putting that out. So please, do the right thing. Do what needs to be done. Get these people where they don't have to worry about what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and move on instead of waiting for a police force to emerge that's going to cost you more money than what it is.
Why can't y'all vote on this tomorrow?
Takes signature, John. Takes his signature.
3 signatures on that.
Is that gonna guarantee us in a year from now, you don't come back in and say, I'm just quit.
Is the FOP,
Yeah.
is the FOP
I'm
agreed on this
guaranteed,
agreement?
we all.
Yeah, so the FOP is an agreement.
Well, I put it in writing, that I'm not gonna come back, as long as y'all continue to do the things that you're doing, as long as y'all pay the stuff, agree to pay it.
That's why we need it in writing. It doesn't say anything about what the responsibility of the sheriff is. All that says is if we're paying the deficit, and if the sheriff decides next week that he don't like what's going on, he can come in and say, I'm not placing again. We need some kind of guarantee if we're gonna spend that kind of money, and we're gonna spend the budget money, that we have a piece of paper saying, we're paying this, and this is responsible sheriff. That's all we're asking. And I understand, I used to do a lot of handshakes, and I got messed in the last, so I don't like handshakes anymore. I like a piece of paper with signatures on it, when somebody's guaranteed and we're taking care of, it ain't my money, it's taxpayers' money. And making sure that I've got a guarantee that is on paper.
You're probably doing the right thing, and I'll give you that. But at some point, you just have to say, you know, we have to get back to common sense. We have to do what's right.
This society doesn't do that anymore. You know that being a police force at all. No, this society is not any words, it's taxpayer.
My question too is how many departments have they cut to their budget?
There's a lot of places we can go in, but, I mean, that's, you know, the point, I don't know exactly what the numbers are. I know we cut some departments last year, but, you know, it just goes back to a pot of money. We don't have a free fall, waterfall money. We're willing to try to do something if we've got a guarantee that we're gonna have a police force next week, police force the week after. That agreement right there, all it says is the court is responsible for this money, and it doesn't have any agreement with what the sheriff is going to do and what's not going to do. That's what it boils down to. We want to put on paper, saying, if we pay this deficit, and we already agreed to this budget, you know, but, you know, we gotta have the lawyers to sit down and write it out and agree to it. You know, if anybody in here wouldn't agree to this. If I asked you right now, would you take $683,000 out of your pocket for a handshake, would you do that?
No.
We'd have to have it on paper, guys. You're asking for questions, you're getting mad, you're getting upset, but this is law. You're in law enforcement. This is what, if you don't have a paper with a signature on it, you've got to know. You know, you can agree with me or disagree with me. All we're asking is we get a piece of paper with 2 lawyers and they agree to it, where if we agree to this situation, we're going to have deputies the next month, and you're going to come in and say, I want another $100,000 for I'm quitting again. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. I think your utmost respect it if this is agreed, but this is not my money. This is the taxpayers' money. We've got to agree and we've got to take care of it. And that's all we're asking. We're not asking for an open-ended thing. We've got to have a close somewhere.
Where my feelings? You know, I mean, basically, there's been almost 2 years, close to 2 years to make the decisions that they're trying to make tonight. You know, I've done all the arguing, fussing, and fighting I'm gonna do. I mean, I'm done with all that. I came out here tonight, I had no intentions of discussing anything. Again, I came here to support my people and to support the citizens out there that need us. And, you know, I will never, ever.
Do that when you sign a piece of paper.
I will never, ever sign a piece of paper that obligates me beyond my term that could possibly make me liable when my position is that I'm not liable for this anyway. So why do I want to sign something that holds me liable that I'm not liable, that I don't think I'm liable for anyway? I mean, these are good debts.
So you sign a piece of paper saying that you will do all that you can do.
Oh, absolutely, I will do everything in my power.
Is that sufficient enough for you, gentlemen?
I can't, here's the thing of it.
No, it comes down to this, David, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you.
I've sat here and listened to this, I've been quiet. And, you know, I'm new to here, you know, you've not seen my face much. But I've lived here for 30 years. And what I hear is they're asking for a letter to have you specify what you are going to do. This is what they're going to do. If you're willing to sign that piece of paper, it sounds to me like they're willing to pay it.
And I'm just one vote. Just to let you know.
I understand.
Just to point out though, the $683,000 is for the policing that we've done for 2012, 2013, 2014, and went in the hole. So giving a piece of paper saying, thank you for providing this service for this many years. However, we want you to say that you're going to agree to keep doing this when we've already done what we're asking you to pay back. And again, it's a savings of $3.5 million a year for the last 3 years. So that's why I don't think, my personal opinion is he should not assign a piece of paper regarding this old debt. This is old Dave 1, when he was elected as Dave 1, he's now elected as Dave 2.
If I may make an analogy here. Mr. Moody got up here and talked about from 2010 up several years. And at one point in time, he had a deficit. He was in the red, 100,000 plus a little bit. He didn't hire 2 people, and they got him down to 78,000. It sounds to me like it's nothing more than this is what's happened on the.
That's where you're incorrect.
Well, and I may be.
And I'll explain why.
This may happen, but it's the complications are more. But the money sounds like it's the same process.
It is. However, that's where the complications are. The fact that Mr. Mooney, although he does an excellent job over there, he knows I tell him all the time how great they do over there. He doesn't provide an extra service that he's not required to provide, though. He provides what he's required to provide legally. That's what Dave's thing is that I will only provide what I'm required to pay legally or provide legally if I don't get the proper funds to either pay back what we've already done and in the future. And that's why they already raised and said we're going to give you $850,000 total from the $300,000 it was 2 years ago. Keep in mind, 1990, it was $750,000 from this court, not people on the court now, but from this court, $750,000 plus they paid for the cars. That's when they had less than half the amount of patrol deputies we have now. So that's why we're in the hole now, is because we're providing a service of 33 people that tomorrow Dave could say, I'm not going to do it anymore. He's nuts for doing it right now. He's nuts for not saying right now, we're done and over with. He's doing it because of these people here and because he cares about the community. And that's the problem, is for the safety of the community and for the safety and also everybody's financial safety. Because the only alternative for them, they've been researching it, they've had 70 days to do it, the only alternative is to start a county police force. And like I said, we've researched that. I've researched that for years, actually. And you're looking at $3.7 million annual cost, and you're actually looking at probably double that to start it up. Most places, if you look at history, you're looking at double that to start it up. So $8 million start cost, $3.7 million a year after that. That makes no sense fiscally. And when you actually get down to it, again, $200,000 a year on average for the last 3 years is what he's not been over budget. Keep that in mind. He's won because the money did not come in to pay the budget that was approved by 5 people here. So his budget has to be approved by here. And at that point in time, he's working within his budget. So that's where he can't raise funds.
The only other time that I have spoke up on this issue, the only other time that I have spoke up on this issue was at the very beginning. And what did I say? I said, David, we support you. Magistrate, we support you. All we ask is that you do your jobs. Nothing more, nothing less.
Absolutely, I agree.
So whatever it takes to get it done, you're done.
And Dee wants, are you finished?
I'm done.
What is your name?
My name is Steve Phelps.
Steve Phillips, okay. Thank you for your comment. And you want to comment to me, ma'am? Dee wants to say something. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Dee.
So you sign this agreement, you all come to the agreement, this is what will pay off the deficit. With whatever that agreement was, $14,000 a month. Then next year, you're gonna come in and are you gonna ask for more money for your budget?
Ma'am,
He told you he's even.
I give you,
Okay, that's what he
I give
said.
you my
But I'm
word
asking-
on my honor as a veteran and a sheriff, that no, I won't. The only possible way I would ever ask for money is if something unforeseen, another train derails, or we get out of whack somehow, like something serious, some serious event that occurred. I would like to have it. We need it. I would like to be able to do more for our deputies and everything. I'll survive. I'll get by. I've gotten by. I mean, I've worked miracles with nothing. I mean, I really have. What we've done is it's just, what they've done is amazing on so little.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just pointing out, every department could always use more too. You know,
All we're
I'm not
asking
saying that they're not.
for, all we're asking for is to give us what we need, and a little bit of what we want. We need cars that when we chase somebody, they won't fall apart. We need bulletproof vests that adequately to trade weapons made by the criminals. We need a living wage so our officers don't have to go to other bigger departments. And we have this huge turnover rate because they only get paid so little down here to do so much. Our officers want to stay in this county. They want to be part of Old County. But when you're talking about $40,000 a year and what they get here, it's a huge difference.
And I understand.
And you're losing all that part in it.
So
And you're
are
paying the academy fees to send them through this.
So are you saying like then fiscal court pays off the deficit and gives him another increase?
No, I don't think that'll happen.
Okay,
And
well, that's what,
But that's where Mr. Rado points out quite accurately. I still believe in honor and handshake. He says they have to leave a document.
and he does have,
Yes.
in my opinion.
And probably he's absolutely correct. It's just, that is my personal.
Right.
But that's all we're asking for. We're not asking for Cadillacs, we're not asking for Escalades, we're not asking for 40 millimeter machine guns, anything like that. All we're asking for is a car that when I get in it, it's gonna start. That when I get, a bulletproof vest, it's gonna stop where it's 22. That we have the ability to make a living wage without having to worry where the rest of the money is gonna come from.
Right, so this deficit is paid off.
I want to address one thing, sorry, said I wasn't say a word. The vest I'm wearing came from my old department. I left the department 7.5 months ago in Western Kentucky. It's a good department. It was a sergeant, it was a supervisor, slated to move up. I left here to leave in this county. I believe in people here. I started in this area. I want to come back to this area. And I'm here. I still believe in you. I believe in you people up there too. But the point is that I'd like you to go look at my vehicle right now.
No, I have the utmost respect for
Yes, ma'am, I
what you
understand.
have and what you need. I understand
The
that.
point I was trying to make is he's not asking for an exorbitant amount of money to buy a whole new fleet of cars for us so we can all look good riding around. He's asking for this money to pay off what was owed in the past and to make sure that we're stable. He's got a budget approved. They've approved the budget right now. He's not asking for any more on the budget. If a major catastrophe comes up, that's something that's unforeseen. That's what he's saying. He can't say, I'm locked in, he can't do anything else. Major
Correct.
catastrophe is a whole different
Correct.
thing.
Ask and answer between you and I.
Exactly, but I mean, it's just, not all of us have a new vehicle. 12 vehicles are great, but if you see what some of us are driving, holy crap. I got well over $150,000 on my vehicle. There's a huge dent in the side, and it rattles every time you hit the brakes. In fact, once, I wasn't sure I was gonna stop.
I understand.
That's
I understand that completely. I do.
Sorry.
I understand that completely.
I apologize, sir.
We keep hearing about these 12 vehicles, and I understand that question. But you all have to understand that the fleet that we have, we were slotted to replace 7 vehicles a year is what needs to be replaced.
We're totally off subject. I know we are. I asked one question and Dave answered it. So that was it.
We'll make a motion, we adjourn. This is getting too crazy. We've got to figure out a way to pay the work. It's got to be a document, it's got to be signed, period. There's no way that we can let go of county tax money without a document. Oh, I'm gonna finish that.
Can I say something before you adjourn?
Yes, you may. We can adjourn yet because we have 2 more items on the agenda. Hello, Paul, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Good evening.
I've been better till I come down here.
This is Paul Larson, he's the sheriff in Bullitt. Tell us about Paul.
This is the most disgusting thing I've seen in a long time. I've spent almost 30 years here in the sheriff's office. Many Joe Ladwell spent many nights out here. And I've had guns pulled in my face to borrow what I take around. Now, these gentlemen out here now, I mean, there wasn't but one person out here on the sheriff's office when I started. Joe Ladwell, the constable, me and him went out there most of the night by ourselves. These gentlemen here, but
we didn't have near the population that we got now. Me and Joe probably used about everybody in the county. But look at what the population is now, and look, this is basically what we've got to protect us. And if they can't protect us, I'm going to have to find me another gun. But I'm going to protect myself. But I'm worried. I'm worried. I don't want to see this sheriff's department go under. Me and several other sheriffs before me, we built this sheriff's department. We built this county up and brought it up with us. And I was proud of it. Still am proud of it. And I certainly don't want to see, I don't know what's going on. I'm in the dark. I don't know what Dave's doing, I don't know what y'all doing. And I do wish you would sit down and talk this thing out and settle it. I don't want to see our sheriff's department this morning. And I appreciate you letting me talk. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for your service to our wonderful county. A lot of service. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to number 8. Action is requested on payment to the Bullitt County Sanitation District in the amount of $7,905 from CDBG funds which have already been received. We have a motion.
I hope you heard me say it. I think
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
this could be.
All right. Number 9. Okay, thank you all. Number 9, action is request on surplus items from the Bullitt County Attorney's Office. The list is attached. Mr. Woolridge, would you like to say anything about this list of items you want to surplus?
It's just items that they inherited, Your Honor. There is a note to use the county office that it should be surplus in the city. County agency that used it or who had problems or any other. Otherwise, just it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Woolridge. Thank you.
Is the value $638,000?
We have a motion.
Yes.
I was just going to refer to what Mr. Woolridge said, and what we're turning that in, there are, I think, 6 Samsung telephones that were used very little enough. We've taken them back to AT&T, and they've cleared the memory out and everything on them. But if you knew of anything like the Center for Women and Families or something like that, that it would be good. As far as I know, work and fine, they just, the previous administration decided not to use them. So that's part of what's being turned in.
All right, thanks for that information. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion on the motion? Please call the roll.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have any more business, do I, Lisa, to get? I'll make sure I cut it off. Okay. We have a motion and a second for adjournment. Any questions? Hearing none, Ms. Williams, you may call the roll.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Mr. Laszlo?
Yes.
Mr. Randall?
Yes.
Judge Roberts?
Yes.